Hey everyone, welcome to Hacky Lessons for a One Piece deck diary. So this is a video series that I've done plenty of for Dragon Ball Super in the past, but this is the first one I'm doing for One Piece. The basic idea is to teach deck building by showing examples of my own current builds and what I'm thinking about, how I'm deciding what to put in and what works, how I'm testing, and so on and so forth. Basically, the hope is that when you watch one of these, you'll learn better than if I just rattled off some basic steps and how-tos for deck building. For this one, I'm going to be looking at building the red-green Luffy leader. This is a leader that I haven't seen many people playing. I tried to build it a while ago and I couldn't quite get it to feel right. The thing about it is its leader ability, which sounds great on paper, but it can feel a little bit too expensive of a don cost. So it's pay 4 to set up to one of your supernovas or straw hats back to active and they get an extra 1000 power. Pretty good, and sounds similar to the ability of one of the best lead cards, which is Kid, and that one pays 3 to restand itself. And that's only one less don. So what is the problem? Well, for one thing, it's a character getting to restand, not the leader. So you're not guaranteed to be able to use it. Your opponent can kill your characters. You could play a Rush Zoro, attack with it, and then use the ability to make Zoro active again. And that's where the other problem is, that 4 Don cost is very expensive. You have used 7 Don for 2 attacks before even attaching Don. But you know what? I think the leader card isn't the problem here. The problem is that the deck is being getting approached as if it's a Zoro deck or a mono-red Luffy deck. I have had to think about how to get the most out of this deck, how to get around that 4 Don to restand feeling so expensive, and I've come up with a few cards and ideas to make this deck work. A lot of the cards I'm about to talk about I haven't seen get much play, and I believe it's not because they're bad, it's because their potential hasn't been realized, and where that potential lies is in the red-green Luffy deck. There are 2 things I need to think about in selecting cards for this deck. What will get the most out of being able to attack twice, and what can I do about attacks being strong if I have less Don available to attach. For being able to attack twice, there's some good and obvious choices. The Kid promo with double attack is one of them for sure. Also, most of the straw hats in OP01 are perfect for this deck as they have when attacking abilities that are not once per turn. Robin is a card that basically is a must-have in any red deck, and it really thrives the most here. There are some ways around having less Don to attach, with the most obvious being Nami, but the card I want to use is the 1000 Sunny. My thinking here is your opponent can't get rid of the Sunny the way that they can Nami. I'm going to want to establish on board as soon as possible, so I'm going to be putting it at 4 copies. But, oh, I hear you say, it will be dead in hand when I draw a second. Well, that is where the next card comes in. Chopper, when attacking, and crucially not once per turn, lets you trash a card in hand to add a 4-cost Aloha Straw Hat back to hand. And this is going to let me get back a 2k counter, Sanji, or whatever else I need while getting rid of something that's dead in my hand, like extra Sunnies. Now, here is the most crucial card for my idea for this deck. And the cards with when attacking skills are definitely going to be some of the more important cards to restand, but they only have a base power of 4000, so the opponent is going to have an easy time killing them. And when it comes time to needing a strong attacker, they won't be enough. Enter Starter Deck Zoro. This is a card that has seen no play because Rush Zoro exists. But I think in this particular deck, he can thrive. Only costing 3 Don to play, and attaching 1 Don will make him a 7000 power attack, and then 8000 when restored with the leader ability, or 9,000 if you also use the 1000 Sunny. And when it comes to be your opponent's turn, that Don 1 ability still works, leaving him at 6,000, and therefore a little bit easier to defend than if it was 5,000 base power. Rush Zoros are great, but in this deck, I think starter deck Zoro is the way to go. Jinbei is like a reverse Zoro, giving something else 1000 power. He can be a good way to make Zoro stronger before Zoro attacks, or if you really want to, Jinbei can be the recipient of the leader ability, as his ability isn't once per turn either, so he can give something else 2000 power essentially. After I have used my leader ability and restored Zoro or whatever, there is one card that I can make use of, and that is Monkey D. Luffy. Another card that doesn't see much play that I've seen, but it can work well here. With his Activate main, I can reappropriate the Don that was used to pay for the leader ability, and get in one more attack that I otherwise wouldn't have been able to, having run out of Don for the turn. So after I wrote this video, I did put together a build and played it at locals to see how it went, and Zoro and Sunny were definitely doing the work I thought they could. In round 1, I played an Odin deck and won that game very strongly. Round 2, I played a Kid deck, controlled the whole game and was very much on the verge of winning, but I was down to 1 life, so there was one moment early in the game where I used the only 3-cost chopper that I saw as a counter, and it ended up being my downfall. As it came to the last turn, I had a Radical Beam and a Guard Point in my hand, and 4 other cards that had no counter power, 2 of which were Sunnies. So I could only counter up to 12k, and with Kid being able to attack 12k twice, my only hope was for my last life to be a card with counter. It was Zoro. So not being able to get that chopper on board and attacking to remove the dead cards in my hand was a big problem. A possible alternative that I've come up with that might actually work better than Chopper, perhaps, is Gordon. A downside is that he isn't searchable, but on the plus side, he is another 2k counter. So I'm going to keep on experimenting with the build, but I am pretty happy with how Zoro performed in this deck, and I feel like I'm onto something good. Once I have come up with something that works, I'll do a deck profile video, so look forward to that. Subscribe and you'll know when it is up, and I'll see you then.